Hey everyone, my name is Nick Heslop, and I got connected to this channel through Dale, who I know from several years back through my brother Paul Heslop, who some of you may know. If you don't remember me from the intros, I'm from Utah, born and raised, and I love fly fishing, and I'm a video producer. I got my start in video through my brother Paul's skincare company called Salt of the Earth about 8 years ago. And I actually worked in the warehouse making and shipping orders. And then one day he said we need to do our own video content so we can stay relevant on social media, so we can show off our product and build our brand. So we started creating videos on one of the early released iPhones. Slowly I learned how to use a camera and then edit, and then I got better and better at creating videos, and Paul got better and better at talking on camera. And pretty soon we were well known in that industry for being the ones with the coolest marketing videos, which converted to new eyeballs and customers. And pretty soon video became one of the key things that helped build that brand. These videos literally became our digital business card and established our credibility in the skincare industry. And it kept us in front of our customers when they were ready to buy. Now, Paul has since sold that business, and he's creating videos for other skincare brands now, the same way that we did with his. And I moved on to work for a billion-dollar company, USANA Health Sciences, working on big budget productions. And back in March this year, I actually chose to leave that job, and now I do freelance video work. I love doing outdoor video work, and my most recent project, I had the opportunity to film with Kodiak Cakes, where we did some commercials with a live grizzly bear and Zac Efron, which was super rad. But besides freelancing, I'm in the process of building and selling an online course teaching other business owners how to produce their own videos that convert to sales. Which brings us to today's topic, how to be comfortable and confident on camera. Now, let's face it, people judge you and your business by the quality of your videos, because in today's world, video is your calling card. It can increase or decrease the perceived value of your brand, and it can increase views and conversions and make you outshine your competition. Now, that being said, I get it. Talking to a camera is super hard. It's super unnatural for most people, and just like anything else, it's a skill that must be practiced and learned over time. And as you do it more and more, you'll get better and better at it. Since directing a lot of people on camera over the years, I've learned a few things on the topic, and since I've been spending a lot more time in front of a camera rather than behind it, I want to give you some of my tips that you can implement right away to boost your presence on camera so you can build your business and your presence online. Tip number 1 is act like you're talking to someone face to face. When you talk to the camera, it's easy to want to look away, because especially at first it feels uncomfortable talking out loud to something that isn't a person talking back at you. If you do your best to replicate normal conversation, you'll come off as more natural and help the viewer feel like you're talking specifically to them. So if you look into the camera and not let your eyes wander or look at the floor, you're telling the viewer that you are engaged with them, and that helps them feel engaged with you. Tip number 2 is to use facial expressions. Using facial expressions can help you get points across and make you look more engaged as well. If you're serious about something, put on a serious face. If you're friendly, put on a friendly face. Even changing your facial expressions can change the entire mood and feel of your video. Now, along with tip number 2 comes tip number 3, which is use body language. Body language is a huge part of how we interact with each other when we're in the same space. If you've got your arms folded like this, that means you're being a little closed off. If you've got your arms open and use your hands a lot, that speaks to being more engaged and open in conversation. And I usually tell people to do whatever feels natural to them and not worry so much about their arms flailing around too much. If they do flail, I kind of reel them in a little bit. So some people can get excessive, but for the most part, it's best to do whatever feels natural to you. When you move your body, you bring more energy into the video. Now, tip number 4 is avoid mumbling and keep the volume up. I'm a mumbler naturally, and this one is really hard for me. Every time I record myself on camera, I have to mentally prepare and physically prepare my mouth by stretching it out and opening it wide so my jaw doesn't get lazy. This also helps with the volume. It's really hard to keep your volume up, especially if you're a quiet person naturally. But keeping your volume up, again, brings that energy to the video. And something to keep in mind that I see a lot of people do is when they start a sentence is they start really loud, and then by the end of the sentence they've run out of gas and it becomes quieter and quieter until you can barely hear them. Then whatever point they were trying to make has no punch or emphasis because there's no steam left. So keep your volume up so you can avoid those mumbles and get your points across. Tip number 5 is smile and be extra. This one is so important. Anything you normally would do when talking to someone, give it 150% more on camera. I don't know what it is about being on camera that makes you look way more boring than you really are, but if you were to talk to the camera like you would talk to someone normally, you'd quickly see that you aren't that interesting to listen to or watch. Just to show you what I'm like when I'm not extra, I sound and look a lot like this. Sometimes it's tough to keep the energy up, especially for me because I'm a pretty chill and laid back person in real life. And no, I'm not playing this down at all right now. This is just how I really am if I were to just read this without being extra. So that's why it's important. Nobody would sit there and listen to me if I was that boring all the time. Now, tip number 6 is practice. The more you do something, the better you get at it over time. Be patient with yourself. The cool thing about video is that you can really have as many takes as you want, unless it's live, of course. Tip number 7 is be authentic. Just be you. Don't try to be something you're not. Now you might ask, well, you just said be extra, so you're being something you're not. What I mean by being authentic is bring your own personality, humor, and body language to the video. I see a lot of people just stiffen up and not really say stuff that they might normally say when talking to someone face to face. They might not joke or they might not be serious. They might put their hands in a really awkward position, etc., etc. I used to stiffen up a lot and be pretty rigid on camera until I realized one day that that's not what I really do in real life. I'm a pretty loose person and I move around a lot when I talk. I might not have the most energy in the world, and that's okay. That's just not me. Tip number 8 is use a teleprompter. A tool I use that makes it way easier to talk on camera and stay engaged and looking into the lens is a teleprompter. I don't have a real fancy setup like I've used on set before. All I use is my phone or iPad and an app that scrolls automatically. There are a bunch of apps out there and you can do your research to find which one might work best for you, but for me, I found that this app called PromptSmart Pro works great and it doesn't cost very much. Be careful if you use a teleprompter though. If you get caught up in just strictly reading the words, you might lose focus on other things like your enthusiasm, your facial expressions, body language, and making sure that you're not sounding like a robot. So it takes a little bit of multitasking on your part if you do choose to read a teleprompter. So make sure you're just keeping that energy up, bringing your personality to the script instead of just dead reading it. If I have a super long script, I'll read through it a few times to make sure I get familiar with the content so things can flow a little easier. So there you have my top 8 tips for how to talk on camera. Now the reality is some people love the camera and some people hate it. And whatever the case is, it's still going to take practice, and over time, you'll naturally get better and better at it. If you want to learn more about how to get better quality videos, you can check out my website, www.diyvideopro.com. Or if you have any more questions about talking to camera or any video related questions at all, please let me know. Laters.